And then I'm gonna okay, got recording going now. We can, if I can remember how to use Zoom, share screen up here. Oh, actually, no. So go ahead and answer those questions. There are 7 of them. Guys are just jumping on. Make sure there is a quiz that you can take. So go ahead and do that. Finish it up. It's okay if you don't do it, or if you can't do it if you're on your phone or something. But get as many guys as you can just to. Rafi, what are you doing? Stop. All right, I'm gonna kick Rafi out like a little kid.
Oh, we're
I don't see the quiz. Maybe that's why.
Go. There should be in the bottom toolbar or polls. I think it says.
I don't see no polls. Only polls I see at the strip club.
No, there's 21 people that have figured it out, Rafi. So you're in the bottom half of the technology bracket here.
I don't think he mentioned it was Polacks either, Rafi.
oh,
Hey,
Oh,
easy.
oh.
come on, we got to go there already, huh?
Yeesh.
All right, we'll give you another 30 seconds and we'll go through here. Oops, go back. All right, we'll go ahead. First question. We got 20. I don't know how to show this. Maybe I can. Everybody see that now on their screen? The results of the poll?
No.
Okay. We'll just give them to you then. All right, so forced place slide rule applies at second base only. Okay, we had 24 people say false, 3 people say true. The answer on this is false. So the forced place slide rule is at second, third, or home. And you can call that at either one of those bases. So we talk about second base because that's where the interactions happen the most, but it can happen at other places as well. Home plate is one where it can happen when the base is loaded, chopper back to the pitcher or the third or to the third baseman, and they throw it home, and then the catcher turns and throws. There is one slight difference at home is that we'll get there. I get there a little bit, but so if it does happen at home, the runner is allowed to slide through the base at home and make contact. The other bases, second or third, they cannot slide through and make contact with a fielder. So that there's one slight difference on that at home, but we'll get through the rest, as we go. But that just so you know, if you do call that at home, there's a slight difference on the rule. On force plays, base runners are required to slide. We had 22 say false, 5 say true. The answer on that is false. In high school baseball, the runners never have to slide. Okay, they always have another option. They could peel off, they can run away from the play. But if they do slide, the slide has to be legal. That's where the interference play, force play slide rule comes into play. Is that if a slide happens, if the slide's legal, then the runner's going to be okay. If he doesn't slide legally, that's when he's going to be in violation of this rule. Okay. If a base runner slides, number 3, if a base runner slides, he is not liable for any contact that may occur. That one we had 25 out of 27 said false. That's the correct answer is false. So if the base runner slides, he can make contact. Not all the contact is illegal, but he's still liable for the direction of a slide, what he does during the slide, like a pop-up slide. If it's a pop-up slide into a fielder, it's an illegal slide. Sliding in direction of a fielder could be illegal as well. So that's what it's talking about. And then any second and third, if they slide through the base and make contact beyond the base, that's illegal as well. So that's why that one is false. Number 4, base runners can give themselves up or go away from the fielder. That one, we had 27 or 28 said true and 1 said false. So the people that write these rules about safety, this is a safety rule, and if they're able to peel off and get away from the play, that's exactly what the people that write these rules want. They want you to not make that unnecessary contact. So when they're running, they can, you'll see them peel off into the infield or peel out into the outfield, depending on where the play goes. That is perfectly fine on a forced play slide rule play. Number 5, contact is required for interference to be called. This is the one I thought maybe get some different, but I was wrong. Number 5 is false. Does not need to be contact for interference to be called. So example that is, shortstop, ground ball to second base, when shortstop catches it, goes towards the outfield side of second base, and the runner from first slides in the direction straight into the, not even making contact, just at the direction at the shortstop. That's a forced play slide rule violation, because that is an illegal slide at that time. The slide needs to be, on this play directly into the base, and that is not directly into the base, and it causes, and is not going away from the fielder. So then you do have interference on that. Number 6, contact with the fielder beyond a base while he's attempting to make a play is illegal. I think I've covered this already. It is, besides at home plate, you cannot make contact beyond the base while he's trying to attempt to make a play. So that contact, if it happens on the base and he slides through and it hits the fielder, and then that force of the slide takes them beyond the base, that's fine. The initial contact has to happen on the base and not beyond the base. And number 7, this one's a little more split. Hard slides are always illegal and oftentimes malicious. That one's actually false. Okay, don't think this rule is not there to stop somebody sliding hard into a base. It's not there to stop contact being made. It's just stopping you from making contact that's not in the direct line with the base or on the base. So it could be, hard slide could be malicious, but I would say most of the time on these plays, it's been coached pretty well at this point. This rule's been around long enough where the players, for the most part, know exactly what to do when they get to the base, right? They know that they need to slide straight through. You'll see, if it's out, they're out by a lot at second base, they're still sliding straight into the base. They're not, not going to the side. This rule, it doesn't happen as much as when it first went to effect, but nothing about the rule talks about how hard somebody can slide into the base. So just because it's hard and it looks bad doesn't mean it's actually a forced play slide rule violation. So, all right, we'll end that poll. You can share the results. All right. First time I did a poll on here, so we're gonna try to do more of that stuff as we go through the weeks here. This is an old presentation, so I'm gonna go skip a couple slides here. All right, so the person that did this presentation is very detailed. So if everybody knows what a forced play is, it's when a runner, runners are forced to advance to the next base. So that's the first part of this that you need. So if when the interaction happens, like at second base, that runner has to be forced into second. As soon as you have a ground ball to first baseman, he touches first and then throws to second, then there's no forced play slide rule, and that runner it opens up to where he can go and where he can slide. So as soon as there is no forced play anymore, this rule doesn't apply. It only applies when there is a forced play in effect. It is interference. When you hear people talk about this, they always say, "Oh, it's a forced play slide rule. It's a forced play slide." You're going to hear me talking about that as well. But ultimately, it's interference. It's an act by the offensive team that interferes, obstructs, impedes, hinders, confuses the fielder making or attempting a play. So this is a specific part written to the rules, but ultimately it's part of the interference rule. So if you're going to look for the case plays on this, you're going to look for the interference part of the rule book. Let's see. All right, so this gets more into the rule. All right, so a slide is so ultimately it's a if it's an illegal slide, right, is where you're going to get this this call. So the runner using a roll and crossbody pop-up slide into a fielder. So we'll see a video in a little bit. It's the old where the runner from first, his ass doesn't even touch the ground as he's sliding into second base. I think there's an old one with there's one we show where the slide doesn't start until the base and he's off out, or he's sliding sideways and rolls into the fielder. Or the biggest one that you'll see in high school is the pop-up slide, right? Pop-up slides are not illegal. Okay, the players can do that. They'll do it a lot. But the pop-up slide is illegal if they slide into a fielder. So that's where if you have force play slide rule, coach comes out and asks you, because they're going to ask you most of the time, unless it's really obvious. Part of your explanation is, the fielder, slid and popped up into the fielder. And you have to explain that, that is an illegal act, and that's why you call the force play slide rule on that play and call the double play. The runner's raised leg is higher than the fielder's knee when the fielder is standing in position. So this one, you don't see. I see a lot. I think I told the story last week where I had this happened in one of my games where actually the kid that slid into second, actually the spike hit the fielder in the stomach and cut him, and he was bleeding like through his jersey and everything, right? So that you can see that. Most of the time you're not, it's going to be pretty obvious if they're sliding with their feet way up in the air. But if you do, be on the lookout for that as you're calling this play. Okay. This is one I talked about before. Except for home plate, the runner goes beyond the base and then makes contact or alters the play of the fielder. At home plate, he's allowed to slide through and carry him through the plate on a straight line of the baseline. So if the catcher catches the ball and is in the straight line past home plate with the baseline and gets hit, then that is okay. That is permissible because there's not a base there to help him stop. But if he jumps up the line towards first base and that runner slides through but comes off at an angle to make contact, then you would have a force play slide rule. This is the runner slashes or kicks the fielder with the leg. So that's where they slide not directly into the base and they stick an arm and they stick a leg, something to try to trip up, like the old MLB rule, where the MLB rule was at one, used to be up until just a couple years ago, where you just had to be able to reach the base, and the slide was legal until they changed. They adopted something similar to this actually in the pro rule set now, or does anything to attempt to injure the fielder, that you feel that or something they did to intent to injure the fielder, then you have a force play slide rule violation. Let's see. I think this is all. There's one. Go back. All right, we're not going to show those. There's one more. All right, so when you do have a force play slide rule, right, the way you're going to make the call, right? Well, let's talk about umpire responsibility on these plays. If you're in a two-man system, we'll talk about two-man system first. The base umpire has this call as long as he can, right? So you're going to see the play at second. You're going to stay with that play until the ball forces you to make the turn to go to first base. Okay. So ultimately you want the base umpire is going to have a better look at this. They're in a good angle already, and they're in a spot where they can they get a good angle and they're closer to the play. So if the base umpire can make the call, that makes it easier. It makes it easier to sell the call that you did see it. But ultimately, part of the two-man system that stinks is that you have multiple calls on the same play, multiple sides of each play. So you're gonna make that call, start moving in position to make the call at first while watching the play at second. As soon as the throw goes, you follow the throw through and go to first, make the call. Most of the contact on these plays happens after you have to look, right? It's, as the, you have to turn your head and you have to make your main call will be at first base. The plate umpire now takes over the call on that play. So from, plate umpire should be moving up move up towards the mound, kind of running where the second baseman normally plays, try to get up in an angle so you can see that play at second base. Most of these calls will be made by the home plate umpire. Okay. That's why a lot of these calls don't get made, because it's hard to get in the right position to make the call, right? And you're a long ways away and it's hard to see the particulars of this play, right? The very detailed stuff, did the contact happen on the back edge of the base or beyond the base? And there's a lot of different things that can happen there. So it's a tough call to make in the two-man system for the home plate umpire. That's why when you get into the playoffs and you get three-man crews, a lot of times you'll see more of these calls made, right? And because you have an umpire that is just there, just watching that play and has no responsibility at first base. Okay, so you're able to stick with the play and get a good look at it. Unfortunately, that happens in the playoffs. Sectionals and above, and at that point, like we say, coaches say all the time, you're the first one that called it all year. That might be true because he's the first person that actually could see the call as well. So, but now for the one-man system, you're going to get it when you can, right? Ultimately, you in that that situation, you had the call at second, the force play slide rule, and the call at first. Something's got to give, right? Try to do your best to see that play, okay? But you only hang there so long because your primary responsibility is back at first. So if you can get this call in a one-man system, God bless you, right? But it's not something that I would worry about getting every time, because it's a secondary call for you. Just stick with the play as long as you can, just like the base umpire, and then make sure you turn and look at first base. Getting a position to see this call versus getting a position to see the call at first is more, getting the play at first base is more important and the more likely call. So I would make sure you get into the spot so you can see the play at first base. Looks like we had a question. So Jim, why doesn't the plate umpire just take the call at first? Because the play at first is a more important call, right? And you want the umpire that's closer to it to make that call. Okay. The call at first base is a hard call when you're looking from behind and you don't have the best angle at it. So that's why the base umpire is a better person to make that call on that play. This is the play that happens. You'll see, one that's actually a violation 2 or 3 times a year. So that you're playing the percentages on it. That's with the two-man system does that. And then another question I had: it's restricted for baseball. I'm doing softball only. I don't know 100%. Maybe a softball guy can chime in. I believe softball has this rule as well. I don't know if there's any differences on it, but maybe you can answer that. A softball guy, answer that in the chat for Sean.
Yeah, well, I haven't. Back when I used to do a lot of it, it was still the rule read exactly the same, and I believe it's still that way today. Although I haven't looked at a softball rule book probably in 3 years.
Okay, yeah, we got another. Somebody said the same for softball. Yep. All right, so when you see a force play slide rule, the call is right. When you see one, it's interference. So interference means immediate dead ball, right? You see the call, you call time, okay, and then you point at the play and say that's interference. Point at the runner and say, point at the runner and say you're out. Point at the runner, the R1, say you're out as well. Okay. The runners will return. So this was new to me when we were talking about this last year, and I lost a bet on this. So I remember this now. In high school, the runners return to the base they last acquired when the interference happened. Okay. So too bad Rafi's not here to get this. He was supposed to get some shin guards out of this last year.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for him. I'm still waiting for him.
Dang it, he's still here. Supposed to kick him out.
So Al, you're saying if there's a man at third, if there's a man at third running home when they're trying to turn a double play, then a guy at third has to go back.
Only if he had touched home
Right, if he
plate
didn't,
at the time of the interference, then
right.
he gets the score. If
Right.
he
No, that's incorrect.
I just read it. I read the email.
You sure?
They're changing the story. I got the email right
No,
here.
no, no. Our discussion was on a force play slide rule. It's time of pitch. Where we had discussed, and unless I'm wrong, what we had discussed in high school was a running lane interference,
How is it?
where running lane interference, running lane violation is time of interference, where on a force play slide rule is time of pitch.
You're right. I looked at this wrong. So take
That's
that.
another set of shin guards, by the way.
I'm not kidding. I had the email already and everything, Rafi.
And
Jesus.
you still messed it up.
You should be presenting this stuff. You know it so much better than I do. Because Rafi's here is messing me up. That's why. So yeah, so take that back. So you go back to time of it. So time of pitch. So any runner that wherever they were at time of pitch, they go back to that spot. Billy. So on this, so like I said, on this call, you're more than likely going to have a coach coming out asking the question on this because it doesn't happen a lot. And there's various understandings of what's allowed and what's not. Make sure on this you talk with your partner, right? On a force play slide rule, make sure you go to the calling umpire, right? The home plate umpire can be the traffic cop on this, right? You're closer, if the base umpire calls it, make the home plate umpire make sure you send him to the base umpire to talk about the call, right? If you're the plate umpire and you make the call, you make sure that you head the coach off and you have that talk with him. You have that conversation with him. Just because you don't want, there might be some confusion about who made the call or what's going on, especially if you mirror your partner and help with the base, the base awards and putting the runners back and everything. So make sure the calling umpire is the one talking with the coach that comes out. This play, if they want to go for help, it's kind of tough. I mean, for me, it's kind of tough to get help on this play, because there is shared responsibility with the play. If the base umpire called it, he's sticking with the play and he saw it for sure. If the base umpire is going to pass on the call, then the plate umpire has a look at it and would make the call on it if he saw something. So this is one, that, depending on how confident I was on, if I most of the time it's going to be, most of the time it's going to be, if you call it, they're going to come out to you. This is a tough one to get help with because you have because of the shared responsibility, like both umpires had a chance to call it and not call it. If I'm not 100% sure on it, sure, I'll go talk to my partner and see if they saw something or weren't sure enough, or we can piece something together. But I think most of the time on this play, I wouldn't go to my partner for help just because I think because both guys had a chance on it. There might be some, I'm not afraid to tell coaches like, no, I'm not going to help, right? Because I saw the play well and I had an angle on it. My partner's not going to give me information I don't have. But if you're unsure on it, there is there's nothing hurt to go talk to your partner on it. It's just, it's tough. I would say it's be tough to overturn this call. Because there's again, both guys have had a chance, the chance at the call already. So I don't know if you want to jump in, if you have something else on that, or is that where you're going?
Yeah, I was also going to say, why don't you talk about if there's no call made and they come out? I'll just mute and let you talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, no call. I mean, both got, I guess, as the plate umpire, right? If there's no call, I would think I would take that as a plate umpire, because I had the last look at it. I made the ultimate decision on it. If I was, again, either I had a look or I didn't. It's gonna be hard because when I'm looking at it, my partner's not. So it's gonna be one of those where it's tough to, if it's a normal, throw from the shortstop to the first baseman, it's gonna be hard to get help and get information to change the call. But my degree of certainty on the no call would, kind of base that if I would go to my partner or not. But I would definitely intercept the coach for the conversation, just because I was the last one to look at it. Ultimately, it was my call at the end.
I got one more question about that.
Sure.
That whole interference call itself. So, let's just when the throw happens at second base, like the second baseman picks it up and touches the base as he's throwing the first, the runner is like nowhere near the base at all, so he doesn't even make like an attempt to slide. But like, the second baseman throws a ball and it still hits the runner because it was basically in the way of the throw. How is that being interpreted? Is that still part of interference, or is that just going to be like a judgment call?
That would be part of interference. So he can either slide or get out of the way, right? So if he's that short of the base, he should be peeling off, running in the opposite direction where the throw is coming from. So you would, I would make that call if the ball hits the runner, on the way through. The only other way, I mean, there's always a weird situation where, it happens so quickly that the runner's only 5 steps off first base, those kind of things. But the runner always has he has to slide or get out of the way, right? If he does neither of those and interferes with the throw, then you would have interference on it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Then he would have plenty of time to see the ball coming at him, right, to be able to get out of the way. So, I wouldn't give
But I
any
thought,
leeway to a runner on that.
but I thought he has direct line to the base. He doesn't have to get out of the way as long as he has direct line to the base.
That's on the slide. So if he slides, he has to slide in a direct path with the base. But if he's not sliding, he has to. If he doesn't slide, he has got to get out of the way.
Yeah,
So
so one of the things I think to remember is it's a safety rule.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. That's the precedent for the rule. It's safety. So
Yeah, it's there to it's yeah, definitely it's a safety rule. So he's got to slide or get out of the way, and those are his two options on the play. So where he's at doesn't matter. He still has those two options. So he could slide. He could still slide if he wanted to, in between. But yeah, he doesn't get any leeway. The only direct line part is him sliding. If he slides, he has to slide in a direct path inside the confines of the base. All right, any other questions on that? We're going to jump into some videos of this. There's plenty of takeout slide videos on YouTube if you're looking for them. So, all right, so this one, get the screen shared again. All right, if I can find the chats, I'll put the link to the video in here in case doesn't come up well on your screen with the share. All right, so we'll take a look at this one. If somebody wants to unmute or put in the chat, what is wrong with this slide?
I think a better question might be what isn't wrong with that slide.
Yeah. So here's on this one, right? This is obviously a takeout slide. This would be malicious contact as well. The runner actually never really slides, right? His rear end never touches the ground. So this is an illegal slide, malicious contact. But look at the very beginning of it. So here, look at Tejada. Does he actually? So he never actually touches the base, right? Does that have any effect on how you call this play if he doesn't touch the base?
No.
Okay, no. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he touches the base because the penalty on this is that the runner is out and the batter runner is out. Okay, so the things that are wrong with this, right? So he doesn't slide legally. He doesn't slide directly into the base. Because the contact wasn't late. He's trying to injure, he make contact above the knee, all those kind of things. So there's a lot wrong with that. That one's a pretty obvious one.
Yep.
But look for this, like, because kids watch these videos and they think I need to take out, the first base coach might say, hey, take out the runner or take out the fielder, right? Or break up the double play. Like there's legal ways to do it and there's illegal. So maybe, if it gets in their head, I got to break up this play, then they do something that's illegal. So keep an eye on that to make sure that they're doing everything legally.
I was ejected.
I was just going to ask that, Alan, would we have an ejection there here as well then?
Yeah, I would say this is malicious contact. And you would have an ejection on the play. When it's that when it's that hard and that he's not sliding legally and he hits, definitely would be a malicious contact and ejection. All right, so we'll get to slow-mo on this one.
Oh yeah.
So this is the one where you get the cross body slide, right? Where he's sliding, he kind of slides directly into the base initially, right? But he's, arms outstretched, legs outstretched, makes contact. On this one, I wanted to show like this is where even if he slid directly into the base, right? If he slid directly in and made contact with this fielder, it would still be a forced play slider because look at the fielder's position. He's beyond the back edge of the base, right? So this runner is not allowed to slide and make contact with that fielder because he's protected by the base. So the initial contact's back there. So even if that was a feet first slide into second base, the runner slides over the top of the base and makes contact with the fielder, you would have a forced play slide rule on that one as well. On this one, malicious contact would be, I don't know if I'd go that far on it. He was sliding. I mean, I guess he does come in kind of late. So this would be, I think it's a more borderline malicious contact play. But because he never made contact with the ground before the base, I would probably kind of lean that way because there's an intent to, you would sell intent to injure on that because he's sliding to make contact with the fielder instead of sliding to, follow the rule and get to the base, and stop on the base.
Yep.
All right. All right, let's get a slow-mo on this. All right, what about that one? What do we
Looks like
got?
he's going past first base, second base.
Knee high might be the call I'd make on that, but I don't know if you necessarily have a huge argument for him over sliding the bag.
No. Yeah, so that
But look,
initial contact is before the front edge of the base. So I would say where the initial contact happens, right? I think at the knee, you probably saw like it happened at the knee or below, right? But what do we got? What makes this a forced play slide rule violation?
Sliding the leg.
Over the base.
Yeah, look where Beltre's right leg is when he
His
makes
legs
contact.
outside it.
Look where the short. I guess we can get back to here. This is a better look. So look where here's a shortstop. Look where his leg is at. Okay. What the rule states, he has to slide directly into the base, right? So if his leg is outside the base, base path, the direct line in to the base, and the contact happens there, okay, that is a forced play slide rule violation. Everything else is fine, right?
right.
80% of his body is into the base, but that his leg sticking out like that is where you're going to get it, and that'd be a violation on there. You're looking for the contact has to happen. Yeah, leg whip. Yeah, that's where you can see. That's got to get a good angle to see it, but that would be the violation there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, obviously we're gonna be seeing this right now through slow motion and stuff like that, but like I feel like I'm not quite sure, especially like for me, and I granted I'll probably gotta give myself a little better at this, but when we're seeing this like live on the fast play, I feel like that would be probably kind of a little bit harder to see, especially since the fact that that contact happened like in the back part of behind the base. So I'm just looking at this through like in a live motion. I'm just not entirely sure how I would call that right away, in my honest opinion.
Yep. And it's not easy to call this play, especially in the 2-man where you got other responsibilities. You're going to have a better look than that initial camera view anyway, right? That's behind home plate is not the best look at the play. That's why from if you're working on the bases, you line yourself up so you have an angle to see where that slide's going. Watching the runner's front foot as they slide will tell you the story as well, right? If he's sliding normally, like his right foot here is going to go directly into the base, right? If you don't see
Right.
that right foot going directly into the base, he's probably doing something he's not supposed to do, right? And if he makes contact with that, you got to break the play down, right? You're looking for that right foot to go straight into the base. If it doesn't, that tells you that something could be off. And then you watch where the contact happens at. When you first start looking at this stuff, like from home plate and 1-man, you got so much other stuff to worry about. You might miss these plays, and that's fine. Like it's the way it is with one umpire, and
Yep.
2-man system with a plate umpire in the same position as a guy in 1-man calling that call. You're going to miss some of them because you're going to err on the side of not. I mean, at least I always did. Like I'm only going to call the interference if I'm 100% sure it's interference, right? Because I have to explain it, right? I actually ultimately somebody's going to ask me a question of why, and if I don't have a reason why right away from what I see, I'm not going to be able to sell the interference call, right? So it's okay to not get this perfect, right? Um, right away. You'll get it. The game will slow down. You'll see the stuff, and you'll be able to tell exactly what happened. But your initial read on this is the right foot. If the right foot goes in, if you see that go directly into the base, more than likely he's fine, right? Unless he sticks an arm out or something. But that's the initial read on these plays, and beyond that, like you just do the best job you can to actually see it and get the best angle you can. And if you miss it, you miss it, right? It's, it will happen. You're going to miss calls. You're just going to miss calls, and you have to be okay with it to some point. If as long as you do everything you can to get in the right position to make it, that's all that can be expected of you, or you can expect of yourself on there, right?
Yeah, so one of the things that I'll say on this is, so if you're especially in high school, I mean, if you get a crash and burn play at second and he goes through the base, so when you're in a 2-man, Now this play here is interesting because there's a man, I believe, on third. So you got him coming home responsibilities. But let's just say there's a man on first and you're the home plate umpire. You see this, you can get a feel for this is going to be a slow play. There's going to be something happening at second because of the timing of the play. You should instinctively have your spidey sense going that, you know, this isn't going to be a quick boom, boom. So you know that something's going to happen at second. So he's going to have to, your first base guy who's in B is going to have to turn. So if you're home plate, you're going to want to stay on this. And then if you make the call, and I would err on any time there's somebody getting possibly hurt or safety, I would err on doing the force play slide rule. But then the other thing that is kind of a good technique that somebody told me a long time ago that's good, like at any base, you're making the call because you can only get out 2-3 yards out in front of home maybe. But once you make the call, then you just keep walking towards second, because by the time everybody realizes what happened to you killed the play on the force plate slide rule, you can be almost towards the mound, which gives you more credibility that you saw the call. It's a little something that might work.
Yeah, because if you make the call in this play and that throw gets away like it did in the video and it goes to the fence, then that runner, you know, the batter runners run into second, then run into third, and then, you know, there's a play at third and everybody's excited and you're standing over by the mound calling time. That might be the first time they realize that you called something, right? Or something weird happened. So they won't, because they're the excitement of the game and, you know, people screaming and yelling might you know, slow down everybody's realization of what happened. So like what Bill said, you can fake that, right? Get up farther. It's like, hey, I was already up here when I made this call. But these are tough calls, and it's a weak spot in the 2-man system. But again, if you see it, make sure you do call it. Don't ignore it. But there's gonna be times where you're not gonna get a good look. Especially here, we had a runner, like Bill said, the runner on third. You have a responsibility of him touching home, and it's harder to get out as far because of the runners. You know, if there's a runner on second as well, like you have responsibilities on him. So sometimes it goes down the line it goes down the priority list of you on these plays. Somebody asked, I did say this, pop-up slides aren't always illegal. If they pop up and make contact with the fielder, then it is an illegal slide and does cause the force play slide rule. They can pop up and not make contact with the field. So if the second baseman comes across, steps on the base and goes to the grass side, fielder slides straight in and pops up, that's legal. They're allowed to do that. So when they pop up and make contact with the fielder, then it is that's when a pop-up slide would be illegal on this play and cause a violation.
Alan, you have first and third.
Hey, Alan, what if he pops up? What if he pops up and prevents the fielder from throwing?
Yeah, then it would be a force play slide rule.
Yeah.
Yep. Alan, you got first and third. You got a force play slide rule at second. And what are you going to do with that runner on third base?
Goes back to third.
Everybody understands that, correct? That runner is going back. It's an expensive penalty.
Yep. I was proven wrong on that a few minutes ago. I think right before you jumped in, Jeff. So I got confused on a bad running lane interference. So Rafi's got 2 shin guards in the queue. So just all right. So here's the next one. All right, this one's obviously. Do need to bring back the red plate coats, though. This would be out in ejection. All right, so this play, okay, there's another reason why I like this video to show you guys, right? You may get this argument, is that he's not trying to turn a double play, right? So on this play, right, he wasn't like he's playing like a first baseman. He's trying to just get the out at second, right? That doesn't matter with the rule. So here, okay, you can see he doesn't slide into the base, makes contact with the fielder, right? Even though the shortstop is not going to try to make a play at first, it doesn't matter, right? It's the play at second base is being made. The contact happens illegally. The penalty is that runner's out and the batter runner's out. So you may get that, right? If on a play like this and that play happens and they slide into him, it would still be a forced play slide rule. I had this play. It's the only time I ever called this rule at third base. Yeah, it was probably 5 or 6 years ago. It was a ground. It was runner on first and second, or no, maybe. Yeah, I think it was first and second, and ground ball to the third baseman. Third baseman steps on third, and runs through, and he's probably a step or two to the inside, home plate side of third base, right? Runner from second slides and takes out the third baseman, right? So now the R2 is out. Now we have the batter runner out, and R1 goes back to first base, right? Even though that third baseman had no intent of making a play at first base, that runner slid, took him out, didn't slide straight into the base, and we had a forced play slide rule, and called that runner out, and actually did not get an argument on it. I was ready for it, but that coach actually is pretty good at the rules and knew it was a violation immediately, and just chewed his kid out all the way back to the dugout. And I didn't get anything in that one, which I was surprised. So, but yeah, there doesn't have to be a play to be made. It just has to be a forced play where the illegal slide happens. All right, so we're gonna watch this one. Actually, I want to do this one. No, I don't. No, these are not. Never mind. Hold on. Getting ahead of herself here. This is an old video. So watch where this runner slides. Is that this is a good one with contact beyond the base. I know it's a little grainy, but would that be a forced play slide rule violation?
Yeah.
Yep. Where's that? So ultimately, where does that contact happen? I think this is the better look. Yep. So if you see it, see if I can pause it in the right spot. So where's that? Yep, that shortstop is on the outfield side of second base. Okay, he makes contact there, and then the pop up doesn't. He's kind of popping up, but kind of not. But that contact is outside the confines of the base. I wish I couldn't find the actual diagram of what the forced play slide rule is, but all it gives a good. You might be able to find it. I don't know if it was ever in the rule book or not. I know it was in the college rule book, but because that contact happened not in the width of the base, then that would be a forced play slide rule as well through the grainy footage there. The only other one, I think we addressed this a little bit, but the coming in standing up, okay. If it's close and that the runner is running in and running straight through the base, okay, he's going to be. It really depends on what the fielder does, right? So running in, so if the throw is happening from the base, right, the runner runs straight through, and the shortstop or second baseman takes the throw and throws straight through, you would have a forced play slide rule violation because the runner has to slide or get out of the way, right?
Yep.
The caveat on that is most of the time, the shortstop or second baseman, especially if it's in a spot where that runner's not going to slide, it's an obvious out. Okay, you're going to see them jump to the inside, to the grass side or to the outfield side of the base to clear a lane so they can throw, right? in those cases, if that fielder jumps the inside or outside of the base and that runner runs straight through, okay, then he's okay because he's in a path where he's not causing interference, right? Him running straight through is equivalent to him peeling off because he's staying out of the way by staying there. If that makes sense.
It makes sense. Yep.
Like Bill found my picture.
So in the video just presented then, Alan, what would we rule?
Let me go back. I don't see. Hold on a second. So this video where let's play it again. So that contact is happening outside. So if you can see, and if you look in the chat, Bill posted the picture, the NCAA picture. Okay. Anytime the contact is made in that gray area, then it is a force play slide rule violation. Because I would say this contact is made outside the base, right? Then that would be a force play slide rule violation. So the contact has to happen
enough.
before the base or on the base to be legal. If it happens anywhere else, it's illegal.
So he's already got the force out. Would we also rule the batter out then too?
Yes. Yep. That's the penalty
Yeah.
for this is if there's a force play slide rule violation, the penalty is the runner is out and the batter runner is out.
Alan, I posted one which might be better for high school.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. Oh, yeah, that's the one. Can everybody see that on my screen? On your screen?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, so any contact that happens in the gray area here is that's the protected area for the fielder. So if the contact happens in there, that is that is a force play slide rule violation if it's there. So if you can imagine it, so direct line between first base and second base all the way into the base and stopping at the back edge is legal. Everything else is illegal with the initial contact. Is that in the rule book, but where'd you find that at? I had some bad Google skills today.
I just drew that up real quick.
Where'd you find it though?
I just drew it up real quick while you were talking.
I know, but where did you have it like locked and loaded and ready to go, or did you?
I was ready for you.
No, yeah. Look at this guy.
I pre-gamed today's talk.
As I expected, Bill. Thank you, sir. All right, so we force play slide rule to death. I believe this is a channel. This is where I stole some from the videos. So this actually gives a whole list of force play slide rule examples, right? Kind of beating it to death a little bit, but I think from what we talked about, you should have a good understanding. That picture, if I could, if you have access to the chat, I set this up so the chat is supposed to go meeting to meeting. But if you find that picture, let me go do it one more time here. This is a really good guide. If you can get it, steal from the chat and download it. It's a good guide for you to know where the contact is allowed and not allowed in on this play when there's a slide rule, force play slide rules in effect on the play. So, all right. Now runner's lane interference. Okay. We're going to talk through the rule a little bit. I don't have a presentation on this necessarily, but I'm going to just put a diagram up here. It's going to stop the sharing. Just give me 1 second here. All right, share. All right, so running lane, okay. Running lane interference, the running lane rule, right? The reason it's the design of the rule, the reason it's in the rule book, right, is to give the first. It ultimately the first rule in pro rules was to give the first baseman that it gives the first baseman the ability to catch the ball that is thrown to him, right? These lines on the field, the rule is designed so the first baseman had a clear view to catch the throw, okay, from the home plate area, right? I would say it's a very misunderstood rule, right? Because a lot of people say, oh, the runner has to run in there all the time, right? Which he doesn't have to, okay? If there's a ground ball to shortstop, he can run wherever he wants, right? The only time he's restricted to running in the running lane is so in high school. So I guess I forgot this part is the high school rule is different from the pro rule in that it it gives it's there to protect the first baseman catching a throw from home plate area and somebody throwing the ball from the home plate area to first base. So the running lane rule, right? The requirements are when a runner's running towards first and a throw is going to happen behind him, okay, from the home plate area, the last 45 feet running to first base, he must run between you can see on the screen between the foul line and 3 feet to the right where the other line on the running lane is. So from halfway down the line, he's required to be in that lane until he gets to first base. Okay. One of the big problems with this rule, right, and it was actually adjusted by MLB this year, is that you see where first base is. First base is not in the running lane, right? So if he's required to run here, how is he supposed to touch first base? Right. And that's gonna be an argument you get from somebody who goes, he was just trying to touch first base, right? Especially when that play happens right by the base. So the caveat in the rule is that the runner is allowed to, as long as he legally runs in the running lane on his way down to first base, he's allowed to take a step outside the running lane and touch first base. Okay. But he doesn't get that leeway if he runs completely outside the lane or runs outside the lane all the way to first base. So if he runs legally, he's allowed to step out and touch the base. If he doesn't run legally, then he doesn't get that leeway going to first. So this I would say it's probably one that gets passed on a lot by guys calling it, right? So I would say I've been guilty of it as well, right? You got a ground ball that a chopper right in front of the home plate, catcher picks it up, the right-handed batter runs, just jogs to first, doesn't run real hard, or even runs hard, and he's gonna be out by a mile, right? He runs straight down, he's left of the foul line, catcher throws to strike to first base, and you call him out and you just move on into life, right? But in that situation, right, as long as he's reached the halfway up the line, right, technically you have a running lane violation, right? But why the hell would I call that when I'm just gonna get yelled at because nobody's gonna understand? He was out anyway, so kind of ignore it, right? You got to be ready to call it, right? So there's a lot of times where guys will pass on this call because it's a hard call to sell, because of I'd say the lack of understanding of it. But you do have to be aware of the rule and make sure you're watching for it. With nobody on, that's why you're running up the first base line. You're not just doing it for the exercise. You're running up to see that play and see the first base slide rule and then help end the play at first base. So, what's going to confuse um, people even more on this is that MLB just changed their running lane rule, right? So MLB now you're allowed to run as long as you're on the dirt all the way up, you're fine. You're considered in the running lane. So they expanded the running lane from that outside, that 3 feet right of the foul line to the dirt running lane. So
Interesting.
it doesn't affect anything we do on our games. Like the rule doesn't change at all, but people are going to see that rule change, and they're going to see it called differently and on TV, and it's going to make our life harder. So our job is we have to make sure that we understand the rule even better and be able to explain it even better to people when it does come up during the game. Okay.
This is actually being called like a lot because I don't remember seeing this at all last season, like being called in baseball.
Yeah, it is. Like if you go to Close Call Sports, they have ejections by rule type, and one of them is running lane interference. And every time it's called, somebody's ejected. So, with replay, they're calling it closer because of replay because they can review this. But yeah, it is being called, and it's just pretty much every time it is called, there's an ejection on it. So, all right, so for the play to happen, right? The other rule difference between high school federation and everywhere else, um, every other rule set is the quality of the throw, right? So if there's a chopper in front of the home plate, catcher has the ball, and the runner's outside the running lane, and he throws it in the right field. Okay. In college baseball, at least I think it still is that way. In pro baseball, that is not a force play slide rule violation. Or not. There's not a running lane type. Sorry, I'm going to do that about 10 times here. It's not a running lane violation because the difference between the two rules I said at the beginning, pro and college rules only protect the first baseman's ability to catch a throw, and high school rules also protect the the catcher or fielder's ability to throw the ball at the first base. So, so in high school, no matter how bad the throw is to first base, okay, if that runner is outside the lane, you get the ball could be 10 feet over the first baseman's head. It's still a running lane violation. So understand that as well, that it is different interpretation other places, and it might confuse people. It might confuse, the conversation with you, but with you, like with high school, the throw does not have to be good. But I would say the throw does have to happen for it to be a running lane violation. Because the rule is, it's protecting the catcher from throwing the ball, having a clear path to throw to first, and having the first baseman's a clear path to see the throw from that area. If there's not a throw, then there's not a violation. Anything else? Like any other guys out there? Anything else I missed on this?
Again, on the mechanic of it, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So
okay.
Yep. So, calling it's interference. So interference means dead ball immediately, right? So as soon as that throw happens, you call time. Okay. Call time. You point. That's running lane interference, and you point at the batter. Call them out. Okay. Now rewind back to when I was trying to explain the force play slide rule. The interpretation on this for runner placement, which is also different than other rule sets. High school, the runners return to the base they last legally acquired when the interference happens. So, the one that pops in my mind immediately is we have a squeeze play, and bunt gets down. R3 is stealing home on the play. goes across home plate and scores. Then catcher picks up the ball, goes to throw it to first base, and we have running lane interference. Okay. On that play, that run state that as long as there's less than 2 outs, that run scores. Okay. Other runners go to where they were at the time of the interference. Okay. So at the time, say the time of the throw from the catcher or the pitcher, whoever's right there, what at that moment that throw, if there is when there is running lane interference, those runners will go to the last base they legally acquired. Okay. So on a squeeze play, a runner would score. Now, if there's 2 outs on the squeeze play, and then that batter runner's retired on the interference, then that run would not score, because that runner has to advance to the next base to be able to make that runner score on that play. So that one there'll be a lot of explaining to do on that one too. I think it's, if I go back to my email, what the rule is, it's 829. Okay, is the rule on that, and there's a case play from 2007 that actually spells out that situation. So,
Is that the email I sent you?
no, I think it was from Linforth. So, I don't know, it was supposed from you.
And so the other thing I just say is when you make this call from home plate, couple things. You got to make sure you get yourself in a position that you think about the runner lane, because sometimes when that batter comes up and you have that possibility of a play, you got that bunting situation, or you got that safety squeeze situation, suicide. You want to make sure you think of that, as you're starting to think about the pitch coming in too, so that you get yourself in a line to be able to see the violation. And then if you do see the violation, you got to come out strong on the violation, so that you're not iffy about it, because you're going to get challenged. So you want to come out and kill that play, coming out strong. You have that runner lane interference. So because runners are going to keep coming around, just like on that play we had with the force plate slide with the guy on third. So you want to make sure you get out there and be strong on your call.
Yeah, this is what. Yeah, where you've got the throw down that airmails the first baseman and goes into the outfield. That's the one that's hard to stop. But you got to keep doing it, even so much as looking at the defensive coach and yelling at him, right? Something like that. They're trying to be loud, be big, get your hands up in the air, and do all you can to stop it. Because if you get everybody to stop and freeze, then there's less extracurricular that goes on that play. But yeah, it's get into spots. If you have a possible play at the plate, worry more about the play, getting in position. But as soon as you see that throw is going to first base, try to get on the line somewhere. Like if it's behind home plate, if it's in the batter's box on the line, like try to get there once you realize that there's not going to be a play where you're at, just to get a good look at it. To help, because that is the home plate umpire's call all day. The base umpire, especially with runners on base, has no vantage point at all on that. And even in A, it's still they're getting an angle for the play more than they are getting an angle for the running lane. So it's the plate umpire's call all day on this one. All right, any questions before we jump into some plays on this? All right, we'll go ahead and watch a couple plays here. This screen. Get a replay on this. This is actually a good look at this. All right, yes or no on running lane interference?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So so when you see where you get the argument, right? The last two strides. So he is illegal all the
Right.
yeah, his last two steps he's legal, right? He's running on the line. But he was not in the lane all the way through and he's going to touch the base. So now does the throw come from the home plate area? That's the other thing. Does that runner impede the pitcher's ability to throw, the first baseman's ability to catch the ball?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, who said that? Explain that. Explain how you would explain it to the coach. If anybody wants to jump in.
Oh, he's completely out. He's completely outside the lane the whole way down.
I
He
agree.
does impede. He does impede the first baseman from making a catch on that baseball. Even though his last two steps get him back in, if he had been outside in his last two steps,
Yeah.
getting him close, yes, but he's completely outside that lane the whole way.
Yep. So it's hard to see, but the batter's left elbow makes contact with the first baseman's glove. I think that's where you get it. As he's trying to catch it. See how his glove tips back. So I think that's where.
Yeah, I thought it was off of his body, like his thigh.
Yeah,
area,
but actually, if
could
you watch
definitely see it being impede.
Yeah, the fielder actually touches the watch right here. So the glove.
Yep.
Yep. So that's where you would get it. Even again, if that ball hit the runner too, then it would have interference on there too. I don't know if you have. I would say the quality of throw doesn't matter, but if you had a better throw, it probably wouldn't have been interference, right? If you have the first baseman stretching away, it might not have been because he's not impeding either way. Where because that throw, home plate area is kind of a stretch on that throw. I agree it should be interference on this because of the contact, and if that ball would have hit the runner, then it would have been.
I think it's a quality. I think it's a quality throw. It's just not a perfect throw.
Yes, in for high school, yes, it's a catchable throw, right? That's ultimately the at least when I was still working college baseball, the caveat if it was a catchable throw, then it's a quality throw, right? But that doesn't matter for high school. I think this is a very borderline if the running lane would be in effect or not because of the placement of where the ball's coming from, but because the throw was coming through and it did cause interference, cause contact, then it would be interference on it.
I think the thing with that call is if I'm making that call, I'm calling it interference, and the explanation is going to hinge on the contact of the runner and the fielder. Given where that throw was coming from, I'm not going to say a damn thing about the running lane there.
Well, you kind of have to though, right? Wouldn't it be? I'd say if you don't have that running lane interference like it would be obstruction.
Yeah, I don't think you have the running lane violation unless he's outside the running lane.
Right, like that I would say, so if there was no running lane rule or he was in the running lane all the way up and then you had that contact, I think that's obstruction then, right? Because the first baseman doesn't have the ball. He's not fielding a batted ball. Just the contact itself I would say would be obstruction because the fielder he's not doing what he's supposed to do. He's not protected at that point because it's a thrown ball. But because of the running lane and the contact, then it makes it interference, right? Is that what you're thinking, Bill, too?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I have interference because if his arm hit the baseball before it got to the if you're saying his arm hit the baseball and it got to him before and his arm hit the baseball and he's not the first base yet, and it's a throw that's catchable, then if I don't have a running violation, I'm leaning towards interference.
Obstruction, you mean, or?
No, I'm calling them out for interference. You know,
Without the running lane, you have interference?
right? Because then you let the first baseman catch the baseball. If you're saying it hit him on the arm, and he's not to first base yet, then I have an interference.
Because, hold on. All right, so let's not get into the weeds on that. We can talk about that later. But I would say if there was no running lane interference on this play, and the contact happened like it did, okay, I have obstruction on the first baseman. I'm just gonna leave it at that because he's not protected there.
So if you were to call obstruction, then he would just have first, right? Or he would just have first and then second.
Yeah, it depends where the ball ended up and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so unless there's running lane interference, like it's just it's a throw that's it's a wild throw for lack of a better term, and that first baseman is not protected on the play because it's not a batted ball. But that's getting in the weeds, so we'll leave it there. We can debate it when we're done with the videos. But I think I would have obstruction without absent of the running lane interference on that. All right, next one. All right, what do we got on that one? I think this is a pretty easy one. Throw from behind, doesn't matter the quality. Not in the lane. We got running lane violation. That runner R1. It's hard to tell. Maybe we get a different angle. So now runner placements. He's not to second when the throw happens. So that he will go back to first base. So he slows down. He's not there when the throw goes back to first.
Running lane violation and a pitcher who owes his first baseman a beer.
Yeah, that mean he could eat some runner on that. That's not a good place to go. All right, let's get this full screen here. Get a better angle here in a second.
Pretty sure that was interference the whole way through, it looked like.
Come on.
As soon as the ball's hit, watch the home plate umpire. Watch the footwork.
Let's see what they call on this.
To me, it looks like the runner at
Yeah.
the last minute veers into the first baseman.
Yeah, so
Right.
so if you look at this, like well, I guess it doesn't matter where he is. He's legal there, right? He's got all you gotta do is have 1 foot touching the line on your steps, right? But then he's moving over that way. So we don't get a real good angle, but they went to replay and said it was a violation. Not sure.
Yeah.
So it's a close one, right? So I want to show this one because running on the line is okay, right? So as long as his feet are coming down, touching the line, even if his body is kind of out, as long as his feet are okay, then it's not a violation. On this one, it's borderline, but it looked like he started okay and then veered in, and that'd be the lane violation, and he would be out.
Could that be malicious contact as well?
Let's see. Let's watch it again. I don't think so.
Doesn't.
So they're both kind of. They're both.
I guess I was thinking because he kind of veered into him at the last step or two steps there.
Yeah, I would say it's not intentional, right? If that contact's not intentional, it's harder to get malicious contact on it. I think that's actually one of the requirements for malicious contact. This is a kind of a train wreck play, where nobody's really doing anything. I mean, obviously running out of, but actually his running to first base isn't wrong. Like he's not doing anything. I would say I need a shoulder lowered, or something, right, to give me malicious contact. I would not grab malicious contact on this play.
Based on the way the batter runner bounced after contact, it looks to me like he was trying to pull up at the last second as much as anything. So I got nothing for malicious contact there.
Yeah, he just he's like bracing for contact there. My personal pet peeve on this is when I was in high school, there was a play like this, and it was a bad throw. I was running really slowly like I always did. And when I got to first base, I went like this because I didn't want to get hit in the face. And the umpire gave me a warning because I crossed my arms. It could have been malicious contact. And I still remember that to the day because the guy was full of shit. Because I was just trying to protect my pretty face, because that's all I had in my life at that time, and I didn't want to get hurt. So, I wasn't doing anything to try to do anything to the first baseman besides not have him punch me in the face with his glove. So, anyway, so that's all I got. Like these are, I'd say two of the biggest like misunderstood rules on here. The other one, I think the most misunderstood rule, and I'm scared to present. I presented on it before, and maybe we'll try to tackle it, or somebody's brave, they can tackle this one, is explaining batting out of order. I think is one of the most confusing ones to understand and to explain. But maybe we'll try to tackle that next week, or if we got somebody brave that wants to present on that, that would be good, because I will need somebody to fill in for me 2 weeks from tonight. So if anybody is interested and wants to run one of these, let me know, because my real job is I'm the finance director for a school district, and I have to go to a school board meeting. So I won't be here for the entire thing because I gotta be at work at 6:30. So somebody wants to jump in and do it, let me know. But that's not next week, but the week after. But that is all I got for this week. If you want to hang around and ask questions, I will stay as long as you have questions. Otherwise, we will see you next week. I will upload this video to our YouTube channel. So if you want to see this, or know somebody that wants to see it, it will be live, be tomorrow morning, hopefully tomorrow morning on YouTube. So thanks guys for coming out, and we will see you next week.
Okay.